to look forward and think about what's going to be coming the next year, which is CY 2025. Fiscal year may vary depending on how you're doing things. And I think one of the most important things to think about is where there's these two extremes that we all walk through in life every day, and the pendulum can go back and forth. It can vary just wildly. We don't know how it happens. You look around, you're like, oh, the pendulum's over here. The next day you look around, the next year, oh, it's over here. And so I want to get our predictions about when it comes to jeans. Is it going to be skinny or fat? What are we going to see in 2025? I feel like this is my anecdata on Amsterdam, based on Amsterdam stuff. I feel like we're in a fat jean era. Everyone's wearing big pants over here, not Jenga pants.
Is it because it's like winter and you got to like fit some thermals under there?
No, this has been going on for a while now. The kids, they're wearing the big pants. They're not exactly mom jeans. There was this mom jeans era for a while. There was
definitely a mom jeans era.
Yes. Right. And I think the big, it's not like, what was it, Jenga that the raver kids wore when we were teenagers?
JNCO?
Yeah, they're Jinko. Anyways.
I don't know how you pronounce it. Yeah. Clearly not a fan. I was more
they're not era. They're not that big, but I think they're like, maybe I'm going to say 0.07 bigger than like classic 501 pants. You get 501s, those are pretty bulky pants. They're big, right? But the ones that I see the kids wearing now are pretty big, but they don't go all the way up in that like fitted thing. Is this true? Like the what was the name of the mom jeans in the 80s? I forget. But anyhow, that's not what I don't want to figure out the names of those. Gloria Vanderbilt.
I have done some. I didn't know it at the time, but I've been doing some field research for your question. So I was touring some high schools with my son. He's trying to figure out what he's going to do for his high school career. And based on that, I would say one, hoodies always fashionable. There's a lot of that. And then I would say, I would not going to say, what'd you call them, fat jeans? I'm going to call them wide leg jeans. Based on my field research, research would say wide leg jeans is going to be in for 2025. And by a pretty strong majority. In fact, I don't think I saw, at least with the young people, I don't think I saw anything, certainly not a skinny jean, maybe tights, Lululemon tights and stuff, which is completely separate, right? So I don't see the skinny jean coming back, which of course, every prediction I would make would almost certainly mean, especially regarding fashion, would almost definitely be wrong. But that's what I would, if it had to predict, I would be wide leg, 2025 wide leg.
So this just puts me into like, cantankerous old man territory where I'm just like, I don't think I'm going to buy a pair of jeans this year. So, my slim and regular fit jeans, I'm just going to be a fashion pariah for 2025.
Matt, listen, don't worry. At Costco, regular fit jeans are always on sale. They're like, it's fine. They always have the staples. And there's no, if you will, they maybe have a few fashionable kinds, but they always have whatever you need, just your Levi 501s or your kind of just simple looking standard jean. That's always available at Costco.
Well, it's summer here, so I got a couple of months for it to clear out and reset. So
yeah. Well, okay. So I think. Well, so what's your prediction, Matt Ray?
Wide or skinny? Is I'm not buying jeans.
Okay. Good.
And I'm just gonna ride this one out.
Yeah. I think we're gonna continue to live in a wide jean era. I don't think it's going to contract.
I would probably, I'd probably just, take the safe path and buy the regular fit.
But let me ask you this. I've been contemplating, I've worn Levi's for a long time, but I don't bike as much as I used to. And so I've gained a little bit of that weight back. My pants aren't as comfortable as they used to be. And then there's this, I don't know what it is, but my old favorite pants, they all generate a hole like in the crotch at the same spot. I don't know if that's from biking or whatever, but it's very distressing. It ruins my favorite pants. But I've been thinking, should I just give up with Levi's and just go full Kirkland? Is that? Am I going to be happy if I just buy like 6
the
pairs
end,
of Kirkland jeans.
probably, I mean, it's probably one of these things you probably don't want to know the answer, but my guess is they're probably manufactured at the same place. So
And the other thing is, over here in Europe, they actually think Lee and Wrangler are cool brands.
yeah.
And so, like,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would know about Kirkland, right? They would just be like,
But did they
"Oh,
have like a big Kirkland logo? Does it say like, Costco across your ass or something? I mean,
man, that would be a
nobody's gonna
winner if
know.
it did."
It does not. I think it's only in the
And they have like they've got little patches of rotisserie chickens and hot dogs.
Oh,
I think it's just a nondescript. I think you can go whatever you want. Cote, I think you should be your own person. Buy whatever jeans fit. You know what? Like all advice I would give regarding this, buy the jeans that fit the best. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, speaking of things that fit the best, I'm not sure the Apple Vision Pro fit the best this year. It seems like the price maybe didn't fit so well, and I haven't tried one, but listening to the commentary around it, doesn't seem like there's any killer app or any, never mind a killer app, any just sort of like moderately functioning app as far as like interestingness for it.
So yeah, to that end, I was pulling together. So believe it or not, it was about this time last year, and this was one of the things we made a prediction. So I went back and I tried to do my best to figure out what exactly our predictions were, which surprisingly harder than you think, But I would say, Cote, I summarized yours as you were skeptical of having to go to the store to get it fitted, right? That would maybe
just like jeans.
Yeah, just like jeans, just like that. So, and I think as you already answered, you never went and tried it. I did not try it. Matt, did you
I did not try it.
All right, so that's kind of an interesting thought.
So there you go.
Collectively, no one actually even went to try it. My prediction was sort of, I didn't think they had figured out what use cases, but there would likely something would emerge. I would say mostly nothing has emerged. The original ones they've come up with are probably still the ones people use, but almost no one actually does.
I think what emerged for me is a fourth monitor.
Yeah, and then collectively, I have to say we were all skeptical it would succeed in the short term, but I think we all kind of said eventually it would be successful. So maybe that's the question: is like, I don't know. We'll start with you, Matt. Just like, do you still think it ultimately will be successful?
I think I think AR as opposed to VR. I think AR will keep creeping in. We've got you see people, they wear their earbuds nonstop. Now it's a hearing aid. So people are getting used to having this digital supplementation to their life. The form factor has to get better and smaller. I think expecting people to wear big goggles is just not realistic unless your job is to wear big goggles. So
let's maybe limit. Like, do we think this form factor, as it's
no, I don't think the form factor.
It's just never going to catch on. All right, Cote, what do you think?
I agree. Like, if it's not going to work until you can reduce it to glasses as we know it, and then until then, no good.
I was going to say maybe veering into like predictions. So Google has now released XR, which is their basically their operating system to basically build both for glasses as well as I don't know, what do you call these things? Like, I guess the goggles style.
Yeah.
And so this is sort of as I joked, it was sort of it's the return of Google Glass, but this time it's just an operating system. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, is that good or bad that Google's getting into the game? And I guess they're just kind of building software and partnering with Samsung to ultimately, figure it out, which seems, I don't know, that seems like a questionable strategy as well. If no one has a use case, it just feels like software after software.
Well, at least they're getting someone else to do the hardware. So, they're like, well, we'll invest 4 engineers, and Samsung, you can go and like burn down the market and see if there's anything there. And
well,
it's actually,
I was thinking of you. It's like the way they've done it is they've made it so easy to walk away from, killed by Google, because it feels like, no, we're not going to have a lot of hardware inventory. Like, if we decide this is a bad idea, we'll just move the engineering team onto something else. Like, there isn't like a lot of buy-in, right? I was like, we'll just give you the software. You figure out all the hard problems.
Well, I think this is a play to undercut. I don't think it's a play to undercut Apple as much as Facebook, right? Maybe, Meta, Oculus, maybe it's having some traction, maybe it's getting there. It's got a cheap price point. They're trying to compare themselves to Vision, and Google's like, no, advertising, this realm of advertising is ours. We'll just flood the market with Android, and it'll be the 70% solution that everybody uses because it's cheap, and then people will have a bad taste for AR in their mouth. But it's just extending the Android, the Android strategy into an adjacent market.
Yes. Well, I guess maybe this is the next one. Has anyone tried? Because I do see these around the Facebook. I guess the Meta glasses, the Meta Ray-Bans, I think what they're called. Has anyone tried those? Have you tried it, Matt?
No.
You tried it?
No, I think a lot.
Let me say this: have you actually seen people wearing them?
No.
I think I might have seen one person.
Okay.
And like I think I mean this is still a no, but I think about going to the Ray-Ban Amsterdam store a lot. And here this is the classic, I guess, as the person who complained about having to go fit them in the store. Like if I knew I could go to the Ray-Ban store and they had an optometrist and I could like walk out there knowing I would get the glasses within 48 hours without a bunch of hijinks, then I would probably do it. But it's like I need prescription glasses, and just like I feel like getting prescription glasses is like just one level less annoying than buying a new car. It's just like I don't know what all this scammy shit you're doing here is. I just want some fucking glasses.
Well, you can wear, I guess, I don't know if you have contacts. You can just wear regular sunglasses. So that makes sense.
That's true. That's true. But I don't have contacts.
All right. So that's the different thing. All right. Well, I'm committing right now. I'm going to try them in the New Year's, and I will report back.
Maybe, yeah, that would be interesting to do. But the whole thing is, if I got these glasses, I would want them to be my full-time glasses. Right. That's why I need a prescription and all that kind of stuff. And like, it just, I want to go all in on it and see what that's like. Cause otherwise, like, what am I doing? I'm not going to carry around two pairs of glasses. Right. Like,
all right. Well, maybe this is the whole thing. We'll make our first prediction. Do people think, will the Meta Ray-Ban glasses achieve some widespread success next year?
No.
No.
I'm just here to be like, no,
I don't think it's fair.
I mean, I think it's going to slowly creep in. I think I still think if anyone's going to make it find like the killer feature and drive it, it will probably still be Apple. They just have that history of taking things that people are kind of on the fence about and like refining them to the point that they're useful. Which is why, like, I'm still bullish on Apple Intelligence. I think, yes, ChatGPT's already, or OpenAI has already got a lot of subscribers, but I think like people, it's not going to break through from Alexa. It's not going to break through from, other existing AI, general purpose AI platforms. Not general intelligence AI, but just the things that are targeted at consumers. I think, it'll just slowly seep in, and then you'll be like, oh, now I have an Apple Watch.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I think that's a good prediction. Just make it like Apple. Just
it's a lazy prediction, right?
But I do
want
think
your predictions to be bold, but I don't think this is a bold.
I get it. But I like what you're saying. Like, I think Apple does have a history of just staying at it. Like Apple Pay sort of came out and people are like, this is never going to work. And now it's like, use it all the time. Apple Music, people are like, it'll never work. Spotify's better. It's like very large business, so there is like this, like they do tend to stay at these things and eventually figure it out. So it's probably, that's a boring prediction, but it's probably a right prediction.
Yeah, that's good. They're one of the only companies that's permitted to all but say, this thing doesn't really work, but we're selling it anyways. Like basically to do R&D in public, right? Which we're brought up in the tech world to revere that and like think it's great and all of that stuff. But in reality, no one wants that shit, right? Like, and so you gotta like
nobody likes compound interest until it's in your bank account,
and so,
right?
You have to be wildly successful to have permission to do that, and they're one of the few. And I guess Meta's another one, right? They can just be like, I don't know, we spent billions of dollars on this shit. Next topic, right? So anyhow, that's what Meta was saying, not me. But I guess we could go to the next topic.
Yeah, well, the next topic was Twitter, Threads, and Mastodon. So this one we actually had some predictions we could grade. So this was about the time Threads was coming out, and Mastodon at least was achieving some level of notoriety. So okay, first up was Matt was skeptical that Threads would federate. So Matt, I think you were false. You were wrong on this one. Meta did offer federation, and
they turned it on. I think I've seen like 3 posts that are people saying, "Look, I'm posting from Threads."
I think that's true, but they did do it. I think I've turned it on, and I probably did something similar. So we should give them credit. Cote, to your, I think you said they would do it because they wanted to avoid legislation. So who knows? I think we can just say that was true. Maybe that was the motivation, but they definitely did it. And I think the thing that was interesting about this whole conversation we had last year is we didn't mention Blue Sky one time in that little and of course, Blue Sky is.
We were already on.
Sure, like I think we'd already given up on that. Like we were like, it just wasn't even being like there's nobody there, and so
we were kind of the doldrums of social media. We were like, well, Mastodon is fine, and Blue Sky, whatever. Maybe Threads. I think we were just, everyone was in this like. Everyone knew that Twitter was a sinking ship, right? And we were looking for things to hold on to, and they're like, well, that driftwood doesn't look so good, but we have time. And now here we are with Blue Sky. It's like
Driftwood. I like it.
I guess it's Blue Sky.
That would be a good name for the next social network, Driftwood. Go ahead.
I know. I still don't. So wait, what is the Federation in Threads? Because I thought it was all. Every time I've read about it, it's sort of like, hey, we have Federation. Here's like 10 paragraphs explaining how we don't actually have it.
Much simpler than that. You just turn it on, and then from Mastodon or something that supports the Mastodon protocol, which I just forgot the name of, but you can. You basically get a Mastodon or whatever that protocol is. You get a username. It's like. Whatever, cote.threads, whatever.
And then can you suck Mastodon stuff into Threads?
No, not the other way.
See, exactly.
See, exactly.
One way.
I think that was my skepticism.
You can federate your Threads post to the Mastodon world.
Got it.
But it doesn't come the other way. And of course,
you can't read
Mastodon. Be cleared out. When I'm saying Mastodon, what I really mean is the protocol, which I cannot remember the name of. But that is all possible.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. This is just a spiteful prediction. Just as a bonus, it's like I think in 2025, this whole notion that we're going to federate stuff, no one's going to give a fuck anymore because it's all like this has been going on for 2 years, and like it's always a bunch of bullshit talk. Like, of course, it would be wonderful it happened, but then every single time we get led on by these various companies coming in talking about how they're going to federate it. And they always come up with some bullshit not to do it fully, right? Like the blue sky people are like, we looked at it and there are just some things that are insufficient for how we think. So we're going to invent our own protocol. It's like, good fucking luck with that.
Okay. Right? So just to clean my stuff. So the name of the Mastodon protocol is ActivityPub. Okay. So, and then the name of the Blue Sky protocol is AT protocol. So just what you're saying, Cote, I'm gonna clean up your entire. I think you're saying there will be no interoperability between ActivityPub and AT protocol.
People are just gonna give up on this federation idea. It's just
two worlds.
We've had like at least 2 years to make it happen, and like we all work with computers, right? You just like this is not a hard problem. Now scale, etc., blah blah blah, but like you can solve problems by programming. Right. You could just say like, huh. I mean, it's a little more intense. I understand, but it's almost the equivalent of like if the Apple News people were like, why we've never really put RSS in there is there are just certain use cases that we would like to do that just don't fit with using RSS. So we just have never considered using it. And instead, we came up with a new format that publishers can use to package up their text and image content that we can retrieve that then gets displayed to people that we mark as being read. And that's really a much more sufficient way of doing it. And, it's just like, I don't know, just pick something and do it. Yeah. Just use the ActivityPub. Who gives a fuck? Right. Like,
right. Yeah. Submit your packets for ActivityPub 2.0. Okay.
Yeah. And just like sort it out.
That was an excellent rant. I really enjoyed it. But just say it's like maybe I'm in the minority. It's like I'm fine with multiple networks. I actually think it's good. Like I think
sure.
Oh, yeah. There's a Threads, there's Blue Skies, there's in Mastodon, and for the most part, I just think Twitter is just it's not even make it political. It's just no longer useful. So it's just easy.
Yeah.
It's crap.
It's just like, hey, I actually move around between them because I think there's slightly different flavors of like what they're good at and people on it. And I don't know, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, I think one of the themes of like many of the podcasts I listen to, it's like people like talking about how they hate Twitter and they can't get off Twitter, but it's just a constant thing. And I'm always like, I don't know. I seem to have no problem. Like I just, move to the next one and try it out. And I don't feel any loss at all. I guess maybe because I never had a huge following. I guess if you had a huge following, that you feel some sense of like,
which is the
loss.
people who would be recording a podcast, right? The people,
like,
the people who only have like 40 people following them. They don't record podcasts, or at least ones that we know about. Unfortunately, I'm sure they're fantastic. Yeah, I think I pretty much decided I'll like script posting links to Mastodon and Threads, but I don't ever like go there. I only look at Blue Sky stuff. And even then, I look at the Blue Sky stuff and I'm like, oh, I remember what 2009 was like. I was a different person then, where I wanted to hear what other people thought.
Well, most importantly, as we kind of move on this topic, is like, well, don't worry. Software Defined Talk has a account on each one of these, and it has given me the chance to really brush up on some Python skills to learn how to get them to automatically post to all of them. So what I want all of you to do is, don't just subscribe to the one you use. Go make an account on every single platform and subscribe to Software Defined Talk.
Do we have like metrics on do we get any metrics from any of the platforms?
If we do, I've never looked at them, but they're all important. And of course, the most important one of all is LinkedIn. That never gets any love, but I really feel like that's probably where we get the most actual interaction. Even though people think it's boring, it's still probably the place people find
if LinkedIn bidirectionally integrated with ActivityPub, just imagine. I don't even know what would happen, but that would be amazing. Like in both ways. Like you would have all this like LinkedIn businessy stuff in there, like that the Mastodon people would see, and then you would have all the Mastodon nerds, and the LinkedIn people would be just as confused. Like it'd be great.
We need the drill for LinkedIn, right?
Crossing the feeds, like it's like crossing the streams. I think that would break the internet. It'd be two populations that just literally cannot interact.
Of course, what would happen is they would have to come up with their own syndication feed, because the other 30 that exist wouldn't be sufficient for what they want to do.
Indeed.
Oof.
Well, there was also a lot of open source licensing changes, rug pulling discussion. I think we're still in the middle of the WordPress thing. That's lasted all year long.
Yeah. So when I look back at like what we talked about, we talked a lot about the license changes. So I kind of put them in 4 categories. This is how I'm going into the next year. It's sort of like there was the whole remember, this was a big deal at the time. Remember, OpenTofu was accused of lifting code from.
That was juicy.
Remember that? And then there was like a 30-page PDF where they came back and they said they didn't. So there was sort of like
I believe that was called a technical beatdown.
Yeah. So there was the so I don't know. We almost need better names. We sort of have like, we changed the license and we're going to accuse you of theft. That was sort of like one category. Then there was the like Cockroach DBs and others. There was just sort of like, we're going to relicense it, but we're going to make it sound like it's good for you. But really the relicensing is just to kind of prevent the hyperscalers from doing anything. Then there was the WordPress, where they're basically have declared some like legal scorched earth, where they're not taking away the software. They're just making it very hard to actually do anything. And then there's the one what I guess I was thinking around, where it's sort of like the project just decided like, we just don't have the time to do the work for the free thing anymore, but it's there if you want to, right? Like we just can't repackage it. So, which that one I think maybe started by Red Hat, going back to like the whole core, Stream OS and things like that. Like that one seems like the least objectionable to me. It's sort of like, we just don't want to do the work anymore, but you can still patch it and make the free thing available. Then you have that. And then I think the worst one is the WordPress one, where we're basically just going to sue you because we think you've done something wrong, right? Because we think you're doing something we don't like and is against the principles. And then you have everything in between. So I don't know, maybe Coach, start with you. Like how do you kind of think through all of these licensing and rug pulls?
Yeah, I agree with your takes on that stuff. I mean, I think slowly but surely there's like growing community acceptance of like, we got to make money, and I think it'll be many years and maybe it will never be like fully resolved, but I think people are okay with the stuff now. Always when we talk about this, I think the real moral discussion becomes like people who have contributed to the community, and all of a sudden you're changing the norms of their contributions. Like it's almost like, you know, if you had a co-author for something and you're like, oh, by the way, I'm not going to credit you or give you any money for anything, right? Like those are the kind of things that I think actually like are worth some pondering. But when it comes to, I was trying to look it up at the, I don't know how to say his name, but the Redis guy, Redis,
anti-Redis,
yeah. So he recently like rejoined the place, Redis, and he had a long post, and I mean it was fine, it was well written, and I think he was basically like, yeah, those cloud people were trying to just take our shit for free and make money, so I think we changed it so they don't do it or something. Like, anyways, I mean it was a I'm not doing a great summary of it, but it was such a sort of plainly stated, instead of using all these metaphors like the freeloaders and the upstream and the downstream and the this, that, and the other, he was just kind of like, yeah, they're just like profiting off of our stuff and not really helping us do it. So that sucks. So therefore we changed it around. And then, you know, he pointed out like, yeah, really, this new license, it's only if you're one of those people that it matters. Otherwise, you can use it. And so now there's all the arguments that go against that stuff. But I think,
say, isn't Valky the counterpoint to that?
yeah. And so, you know, there's forking that happens, but I think eventually, like this pattern that happens. What am I trying to say? I think people will be less. It'll be less odious to like try to make money by changing license stuff around.
I think people, I think the open source community has internalized the rug pull expectation, and knowing that it's coming in one form or another, everyone is now kind of just expecting it and kind of inoculating themselves, either, you know, looking for projects that have a better governance structure, looking for ways to ensure or protect themselves with alternatives. But I think the days of trusting a single vendor for your open source and being, you know, and being the free rider, those days are probably gone.
I think that's a better way of putting it. Is people will, when there's license change, we'll say rug pull. That's a good. When there's rug pull shenanigans, people will be disappointed, but they'll no longer be surprised. And then the way of thinking about things then is that you should, if you worry about these things, you should probably only use open source stuff from a foundation. And, or kind of in the same way that, like, you know, whenever you talk to a security person, they're like, you know, it's not really about patching and firewalls. It's about modeling your risk and managing the risk you want to accept.
And so in that same documentation,
I've been a thought leader for a number of years. Anyways, so like, I think that in that risk management thing, you didn't do a risk management assessment of like, well, the lowest risk thing is, you know, to just use open source from a foundation, and then we just have to model out and accept the risk when we don't do that. So
maybe should we think of like these as almost resolutions we should be making for the year? So it's like one resolution is like, no one should be surprised when an open source project changes.
Oh yeah, that is like
this is the last year you can
take away from 2024 is
you can't be mad or surprised it happens. So that would be one, right? I think also, can we should we say something along the lines of like, are we going to be mad? Because Matt, you put this in here, and I think because Linkerd is the best example. Are we still going to be upset when a company that is not profitable comes to us and says, we're not going to make it easy to use the open source distribution? Yeah, we're not going to do the work. I don't think we can be mad at those people anymore. Like, it's just like,
no,
it is what it is. So
that's 2024 . Yeah,
and I was going to say, like, I hope Tailscale, please don't take away the free plan. I don't know what I can do. I love it. I love it so much. I hope everybody that's in corporation and has like a real corporate need for a VPN, please buy Tailscale and keep the personal version free. But anyway, I don't know what to say.
Isn't the personal version built on open source?
It is, but I'm just
worried. They just provide.
I'm just concerned.
They're providing the service, the SaaS that connects it all.
So I love it, and I love it.
Ostensibly, someone could launch a competitor or the like, but yeah, it's just We've internalized the rug pull. Brandon,
true.
you are
So,
ready
okay,
for
another one we should
Tailscale
be
to
able to
go
say
away.
too is like, well, now the other one we should say is like, okay, for everyone that's CEO, executive, venture capitalist, investor in an open source company, we're not going to get upset when your open source project is
No, we
taken by
will.
a hyperscaler. No, I think we should just say, we need to. I want us to all come together. Those people cannot get upset that happened and that a hyperscaler has offering your product either as a service or at a much lower cost. Like I don't think
that was like a 2021
no, but I don't think any
resolution.
We can't have.
If you hadn't internalized that as a vendor, that Amazon or whoever was going to launch a competitor to you with your product, 2024 is a little late to figure that out.
I know, but I still feel like we read all these blog posts from the founders about how they had to do it, and the evil empire, and like they had to strike back. So I feel like those people can no longer do that. And
I agree, and I like this format. We need to have resolutions, which is
resolution. We're not doing that. And then finally, it's like no one can be mad when the project is forked. It's like when a group of people get together.
Oh
and
yeah,
like, we're upset. Like we're actually going to do something. I think Open Tofu is Valkey. Before I say it, I guess Valkey.
Yeah, Valkey. Yeah.
Is it open source? Is it? I don't know.
Absolutely. It's got a foundation.
Make sure I say it right.
It's in the Linux Foundation. Well, they went hard on that one.
As I say, like read us, everyone. Like you can't be mad at these people. Like you know what I mean? It's like the forks happen. It is what it is. We can all still go to the conference. We can still like hang out in the hallway track, have a few drinks, and like no one should be mad about it. It's just like. That's what happened. So I think maybe we all go into now. I do think the one place I'm going to allow anger to exist is like I do think if you're like a WordPress and you just go like,
oh yeah,
Earth, and you say in text messages that I can't remember what he said, something like "we will crush you." I feel like you can be mad about that, and you can take the appropriate legal.
Well, just imagine. I mean that. So yes, and you could also imagine. Let's substitute in like Oracle and JavaScript. Like imagine if like you could do a similar sort of thing where they're like, we own the JavaScript trademark, so we will crush you, right? Like let's go like we want to go collect money from what is it, Dino or Deno or the Sun,
I think you're talking about
Node, and then you would go to like every single place that used some sort of JavaScript thing, and you would capture their documentation that was like, our APIs are very accessible. All you have to do is use JavaScript. And you would be like, yep, you owe us some money now, right? And just go collect from all of those people. So
good. I get it. I think everyone, I want everyone to internalize those resolutions. I'm sure we won't talk about any of this on the podcast. We've solved it. All the open source. I'm sure we'll never go up again in 2025. But it'll be
just back to college football, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah, we've solved it. That's like it. Good. And then of course I think the big thing, AI was kind of a big deal in 2024.
I guess so.
But so I think we leave as we kind of exit 2024. I feel like the use cases that we know about, it still is just chatbots, call centers, and dev copilots. I'm taking that from Brian Gracely, who originally came over from it. But I think this was the year of chatbots, call centers, and dev copilots. And so
I think dev copilots, I think writing copilots, it's definitely that's the more generally accessible aspect. Like
true, I guess that's
sort of
Apple
Intelligence and showing up in Word and all that stuff. I think that is the easy path for a lot of people. I mean, obviously the high school kids are already on it and the college kids are already on it. But besides getting it to write your stuff, getting it to be your editor, your tag, looking over your shoulder as you write, hopefully write for yourself, having an editor copilot as you go, not just for development, for writing. I think that's actually a great use case. I find it super useful.
And so on that topic, I think you're right that the people who wear the bigger the pants, the higher the chances that you're already using AI to write stuff for you. I think is a principle we could go off. But I've been using AI a lot recently to like do a lot of writing with me, for me, whatever. Yeah. And it has gotten me thinking. So there's two things. One, I haven't really seen a lot of discussion of the ethics is too strong of a word, but I'm just going to use it because I don't know what else to say. But the ethics of using AI to write your white collar office worker stuff, right?
Whew.
Like there's a lot of discussion in the programming world. I don't think anyone's really ever talked about the ethics of using generative AI to write code for you. Like any true engineer, they just talk about the negative and positive outcomes and effects, right? That, you know, the most inscrutable, like annoying one is like, well, the junior developers are going to suffer, or what, I don't know, some shit like that. That's always some problem. No, maybe that's the return to office stuff, but whatever. Anytime people talk about junior developers, it's just like, I don't know, this is like kids talking. I mean, parents talking about kids and how they can't do anything nowadays. But no one really talks about the ethics of code generation versus writing it yourself, which I think is fine because engineers are like, also, I don't write in binary, right? So they understand like levels of abstractions are great. However, when it comes to like, maybe in journalism they talk about this, but when it comes to like writing stuff for office work or like a press release or, you know, like business text, let's call it that. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a discussion of like, yeah, but is that right? Like to do that kind of thing.
Is there like, maybe I'm just too far, like I've just accepted too much. Like, is there any like, is there anything to even debate? Like, to me, it's like, if I want to write a few sentences that are just sort of fragments and like, I want to like use that to get going and I want it to generate the rest of the text. Like I have seen nothing wrong with that. I think that's like,
yeah.
Well, all the way around. Like, I don't even question like there's some type of reason that someone should be.
I think because we don't value it as creative work.
I know, but like I just think it's just the same. Like as someone that when I've had access to like professional writers, it's always such a great thing, right? It's sort of like you can just send them like, here's an outline. Here's like my kind of like incoherent or kind of like loosely coupled thoughts. And then that writer comes back to you and has sort of like polished it up. And it's like, that's been going on since whatever, the beginning of text editing. So why is it the fact that a computer can do it and someone else doesn't have to do it? Like, to me, it's like, that seems awesome. I don't have
yeah. I mean, yeah. So maybe in a purely business context, it's more about the consequences and the way things change, right? Because I think in a lot of cases, like I just went to like sales kickoff stuff, which was like surprisingly, I shouldn't say surprisingly, it was great for what you would expect from a sales kickoff thing. It was people put a lot of attention into it. But even like the best internal training stuff, you could make the case that like, let's just have Claude generate it, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's probably going to be just as good for a lot cheaper. Now, I realize that's kind of offensive and dismissing, but that's kind of the exercise to go through. And in that case, maybe there's no ethical thing there, but then like if maybe it's a little bit more on feels, but like, anyways, the way I started thinking about this is like, you know, in Claude, you can create a style, which you can't really do in GPT and ChatGPT so much. So I gave it like, I don't know, 10, 15 things I've written. And like, it's pretty good. Like, it's almost so good that whenever it generates stuff that I would write, I have to be like, whoa, tone it down. I'm not that outrageous.
It's too good.
Right? Like it goes a little over the top, but it is like, I think I could probably like go on a long dog walk and rattle on about something and like give it that transcript coupled with the style thing and probably just press publish. And then, so that would be the question, like, is that ethical? And like,
I just think that the more I would say it this way, people that like to write, I think really like have this dilemma. Like I think Ben Thompson talks about this other way. And it's like, I think on the consumer end, it's like, I don't care. Like if your newsletter is good, right? If it is relevant to me, I don't care. Like Matt Levine, Ben Thompson, Michael Cote, whoever, right? If the thing that I'm getting is interesting to me and it's obviously accurate and like, you know, or has an opinion that's worth reading about, it's like, that's all I care about. I don't really care. Like, I don't care if like you wrote it, you had someone edit it. I don't care if you assigned it to like a junior staffer who wrote it for you or that used LLMs to do it. It's like, I don't see any problem with it. Cause I don't like, to me, I'm not signing up for like, I have paid you to personally write every letter of this.
Well, yeah. Okay. Well, maybe you're making me think that my framing here is, it's not ethics. There's a framing from a completely different direction, which is, maybe there needs to be a reckoning for people who do internal communications. Like let's think about the typical executive. I think I joked about this in one episode recently where like whenever you see some email that has a scanned in signature at the bottom, you know there were a lot of meetings.
Absolutely.
Right?
And a lot of
And-
editors.
And so maybe it's not an ethical thing, but it's more of a resolution, if you will.
Mhm.
That the internal comms people are like, you know what we should do is just have the AI write this. Like what we should do, we can sit down and have the meeting, we can do the stuff, and then we're just going to have the AI write it and pretty much just use that, right? Of course, we'll read it, but like we don't need to pretend that there is like some genuine effort to word crafting this, because what we're doing is communicating an idea or a strategy or a change. It doesn't, the time that we put into wording this doesn't get us
Right. Now,
people. That effort doesn't get us anything.
and just to pick
What's
up on that,
important
I
is
think
clarity.
you certainly could know better than all of us how it goes, but like usually what happens is like there's a first draft and then it's circulated for approval. So it's like it's fine with the person that has to draft the first draft. Like to me, it's like however they want to do it. If they want to write a little bit, have AI generate some of it, want to edit it. But it's like the most important thing for that group, that person is to get the first draft out because there's going to be a bunch of changes, right? And then just have it go back through, cycle through the approval chains, make the updates. And it's like to me, it's like it's the exact same thing as like instead of someone having to write it for 2 hours, maybe they have to work on it for 20 minutes or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's just cost savings.
as long as you're not, protective of your writing, that's the thing about like a lot of this AI generated content is it devalues the effort.
Yeah, that's true.
And which means those of us or whoever actually spends time on writing something, they can get protective of it, and it sometimes becomes hard to tell if are they protective because they spent a lot of time on this, or it's muscle memory of like, well, this used to take me a long time and now you're still tearing it apart. But I don't know, I ran into a scenario where I thought something had been generated with AI because I thought it was shitty. And it hadn't been, and I gave a lot.
It just turns out it was shitty.
If you show me something, I'm probably gonna edit it. Right. That's just I like submit a lot of edits, and it's just a habit. And so like I just and I expect the same of my own writing. Like I want feedback. I want people to tell me like this could be reworded. So I appreciate tools that do it. But also when I see bad writing, I'm gonna tell you. And so I was like, oh, I
think there's a different way, maybe a different way to come at this is more like not moral, not ethical. It's just simple. It's like if you, the person, you like the act of writing, you should continue to write end to end, right? If you find like it's both an enjoyable activity and it's something that helps you think and prepare arguments and all the things that writing does, absolutely do it all, if you will, the old school way, write it all.
But you should stop painting because Midjourney's finished that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or like painting's the same thing if you enjoy it. But like I think for someone who's not in that category, if you're like, I just need to plow through and get stuff done, right? And I just, and to your point, Matt, I was like, I don't enjoy writing, or I don't like really enjoy the crafting the perfect turn of phrase, and I don't feel like my writing style brings like unique value. It's more like I'm just trying to get my ideas or my thought across, or convey.
Right. Are you an artist or a house painter?
Right. And it's like I just think that's the way to think of it. It's like, but yeah, if you tie yourself to like, no, it's really important to me how every I want to use the semicolon, and it's great, and I want to have this awesome way to write, and and I want to use the certain vocabulary. It's like you should continue to do it. And I think that's sort of like where I hear like I'll just pick on Ben Thompson. I think that's this like big thing. It's like he enjoys it. That's like his thing. That's what he thinks his value is. Like on my end, I would tell him like, frankly, my friend, you could use a little bit of editing, right? Why not throw that through with ChatGPT? Like when you've quoted yourself 3 times and double indented, maybe we've gone too far. Maybe an editor could like bring you back up. But like I get it. Like that's his thing, right? That's like his value. So I would say like he should continue to write. And I read it. When I say that, when I really say I read it, I mean I listen to it. So it works for him. But like for me, I'm going to continue to like, please help correct all my things. Please edit this before it gets to Matt Ray. That's what I want. That's what I want to make sure.
Well, okay. In the spirit of our resolution thing, and I think we'll have to remember this for next year. But I think the format of a resolution is a very clear prescriptive thing that doesn't have a lot of like hemming and hawing about it. It favors directness and clarity over precision and correctness, which is to say, what I'm about to say has all sorts of exceptions. But I think the resolution is to be very, very narrow. There's two things. One, start everything you write just by asking the AI to do it for you. You can front load it with whatever you want, create a style, put text in, doesn't matter. And then two, if you do find yourself writing something, just highlight it and go to writing tools and select summarize. And if that communicates what you want, send that. Because despite Apple Intelligence being weird, it like the summarize thing is actually phenomenally good. Like a lot of times I'll just read this, whatever the summarize thing, and I'll think like, I mean, I'd like to know more, but I don't need to. Right. Like I now I know what was going on there. And it's whatever they're doing, that dry.
Yeah.
That dry style that Apple Intelligence has is like useful. A lot of the time.
What you'll know, Cote, like what's the great writer? It's like, sorry, I sent you a long letter. I didn't have time to write you a short one. It's some famous.
That's right.
I think it's Twain, right?
Yeah. That's right. It's like, it's almost like AI sort of like.
Or was it Voltaire? It's either Voltaire. I think it's Voltaire actually who said that. If only we had an AI we could ask. I
like that. That's a good resolution. I'd like to end on that. It's good. I like that, Cote.
Yeah. Well, how we didn't go over this beforehand, but there's a bunch of antitrust things going on. Maybe we could have a little antitrust moment. I think I don't even know. The problem is that whole idea of breaking Chrome apart from Google. I'm usually not the person who's like, these libertarian, whatever people who are like, oh, government's terrible. Regulations are bad. But like, you see that and you're like, what are they thinking? That's not going to do anything. That's just going to destroy Chrome, and Google will keep making a shit ton of money. And I know they've got some telemetry in there that they're gathering information, but it's almost like I don't think anything would happen, and there's no way that Chrome can survive on its own unless they just keep doing what they're doing, which is getting money from Google or other places. And so who cares about that part? But it's more of just like, if that's the solutions you're coming up with, I don't know if I want you meddling with the rest of the industry that I work in. Like, why don't you just let us do something strange? Because that's
so what do you think the prediction is there? Obviously, there's a major change coming in the U.S. administration. Although China kind of got on the board there. I think they're investigating NVIDIA for some type of antitrust behavior. Like, so going forward next year, do you think are there any significant antitrust remedies that actually take place?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like all the tech CEOs are just giving Trump lots of money, so they're lining up.
Well, it's probably going to work for them. Yeah.
It'll work. As we learned last time, it'll work for 9 to 12 months, and then you'll get fucked. Like,
but I think this is like, I don't know how many hundreds of years this is. It's like, but I think the same thing applies there. There probably are some simple monopolies we could all acknowledge that exist, but actually creating remedies to fix them seems near impossible, because it's hard to just come up with one, but it's even harder to get people to agree. And therefore, the only real solution is sort of like, over time, the market just corrects itself. Like something becomes less important for some other reason.
Now, maybe there's some sort of college football metaphor here, but maybe we should think about, in a capitalist system, you need antitrust to be purposeful fucking with to improve, right? So at a certain, because I think a lot of antitrust nowadays, at least in tech, is just like, we don't want companies to be that big, but you can't really say that because whatever. And it's just sort of like, so once companies get to a different size, let's just figure out how to fuck with them, right? And like, because we don't like it. And so, but maybe there is some, like, because I was thinking, Microsoft famously had a bunch of antitrust stuff, and maybe that caused some sort of cultural mindset shift that made them like shit the bed on mobile. So maybe it did have some some bad effect on them. But really, by the time Internet Explorer was actually separated from Windows, it didn't matter. And maybe it didn't matter because it was being separated on and on. But like, in general, I don't think it mattered that much. In the same way that, like, if you separated out Chrome from Google, would it do anything? Like, but what it does is it just like, it's like, I guess, you know, you see people, I think they're running around with these vests that they put more weight in. Antitrust is like, you know, if you're jogging and it's too easy, like you get a backpack full of rocks or something.
I like it.
Oh,
No,
sure.
It makes you
what
better.
you're saying, the remedy is really just distraction. It's like, because you've gotten so big, we don't really know how to do anything, but we're just going to distract you with like lawsuits. We're going to
Well,
make
that happened with
Congress.
Microsoft, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, they've all kind of gone through it. Like, we're just going to make you do a bunch of stuff you don't want to. We'll maybe make you have to, like, you're going to have to use USB-C instead of Lightning, you know, kind of these things around the edges.
Whoa, that was good. That's the kind of change that we need.
See,
we need the FTC and the is it the EC people coming in and just do some 24-hour user studies at people's houses and be like, what do they struggle with? And just like the wires and the cables and be like, here we go. Let's work on this.
What if you did this? What if you just went to these companies, like pick Amazon or Google, and said, listen, you're doing some bad antitrust things. We don't really know how to fix it. But I tell you what, if you fix to make it easy so everyone doesn't have to do their taxes and we just get a bill and we have to pay it, we're going to look the other way on your antitrust. Like, we make them solve these other problems that they don't want to.
Oh, yeah.
So play them off each other. You have, you know, Intuit versus Amazon.
Yeah, I'm just saying, just like, hey, you have to go destroy Intuit and make a tax software that is essentially free, and we don't have to fill out long forms anymore.
Have that.
This is like the that's
what I like. You just incentivize them. You're like, we're gonna look the other way on all this stuff we don't like, all these acquisitions and all this stuff, but you're gonna fix this for us. You just pick arbitrary.
I like
problems,
it. We should do that. We can call it the Suicide Squad strategy. It's like fix our problems or stay in jail. Like either way, if you want to fix our problems, we'll give you lots of guns and helicopters. And
man,
like
this is something I can get behind.
Oh, I love that. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Well, and then maybe final thing before we get to user questions or what else. Like, I think obviously platform engineering did great, and I don't know. I almost feel like we were at the apex of platform engineering thought leadership last year. I don't know if it can get much higher. Maybe it can coast. I don't know if there's going to be a trough of disillusionment, because I think it's managed to avoid.
I think it kind of
being
started in a trough. Like, people were already in a disillusioned state, and that's what it came out of. So
I like this. So platform engineering is what DevOps became once it escaped the trough. It transformed whatever was down there in the trough.
Yeah,
like
I mean, expectations were kind of like shattered, and maybe not shattered, but very, very tempered. And people were like, well, I guess this is what we'll do. And it's hard to get excited about it, but it's kind of working.
Yeah. Because there's a platform engineering track at KubeCon. I forget the two authors' names, unfortunately, but there's an O'Reilly book on platform engineering. I think
it's fine.
It's just gonna stay in, like, I don't know what gears are in a car. Is 6th gear good? That's probably pretty good, right?
No, that's high. It's gonna stay in like second or third, and you're like, just coasting. Can it go faster? It's like, no, this is how it goes.
Yeah, it's doing great. It's just like a big rig truck traveling the highways of America.
Yeah, and the faster you go, the more noise it makes. And you're like, yeah. Can you switch it to higher gear? Like, nope, it's a platform.
Yep. All right. Well, how about what we've kind of made some predictions, but let's do like a really quick round. Like, what maybe if one of us pick one thing that we're going to predict that's going to happen, then we'll have time for the questions.
I'll rattle off a couple and you guys can take it. So Bruce, first listener question. Bruce asks, in 2025, is that the year of NVIDIA's phenomenal run begins, or it begins to slow down? Matt, you want to guess?
As the holder of a bunch of NVIDIA stock, I'm holding my breath. I'm expecting it to slow down, but when you're sold out for 3 years, it's kind of hard to slow down, right? I mean, you can't pop a bubble if you have 3 years of runway.
Yeah, not like that. I think the way to say it is, like, it's definitely not next year, but maybe the seeds of NVIDIA's eventual decline have been planted. But it's pretty far away.
The industry does not want them to have everything, and so the rest of the chips industry is gunning for this, right? Everybody wants to break this lock. So yeah, maybe 2025 is the year. I think the seeds have been sown. I think everybody knows that's the game, right?
Yeah.
This is like when everybody threw their weight behind breaking up Docker for Kubernetes. Like everybody knows that that's not the platform going forward. But you know what? It's going to continue to be successful for
Yeah, so maybe we
quite
make
a
it
while.
like a 2028. It's like in 3 years, but maybe we'll be prepared to predict the NVIDIA downfall, but not right now. All right, Cote, one for you. This is right up your wheelhouse. Will the debate about remote work finally end? Will we come to some resolution where we no longer have to talk about it?
I think it'll be like the pre-COVID remote work thing, where people will talk about it strategically. You hear the Oxide people talk about it, and they're basically like, yeah, well, sounds like I can hire anyone now, and you can't, and it'll just be like, something that people regard from a kind of a strategic perspective. Like I think I've been thinking recently, I know it's Occam's razor, which actually is something different about math, but usually the dumbest, simplest explanation is the right one. And yeah, I think it's just a way to like get rid of people that you hired too many of, right? And I would have to study this, but my theory would be that it's primarily very large organizations that are trying to do return to office stuff. And from an HR perspective there, like, if you have 300 to 400,000 people that are working for you, if you lose 1,000 10x people, it doesn't matter,
right?
That much, right? And so, like, whatever the collateral damage is, like, you probably come out on top for if you have like an RTO mandate. Now, whether or not that means you actually work better or not, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think it's just purely like, I think there's two things. I think one, there's just like, that's the way people think, right? Like, and it would be like, arguing with a vegan why they should start eating beef ribs. It's just like, it doesn't matter, right? In either direction. And so I think it's just in people's bones how they want to do stuff. And if those people are executives, that's what you got. And then I think the other thing is like, yeah, it's just one way to get rid of people.
All right. Well, I like that. I think maybe it's like everybody has declared their preference, and like we don't have to talk about it anymore. Like on the job post, they just tell you it is what it is, and you just move on. So
now I would say that if you were a startup, it's probably kind of like corporate suicide to have RTO.
But it's kind of back to like, we don't have to, like, I think it's more like the meta question, like we don't have to have the conversation more. Startup, yeah, you need to go in the office. Big company can decide. You want to be remote, they can tell you if they want you to.
I mean, if you were starting a startup and you're not a startup, but like if you were at that 50 to 100 thing, you probably want to hire remotely, because like you're going to want to hire like specific people no matter where they are. So like if until you get to be a certain size, like return to office is very risky. Right, depending on like the business that you're in.
Absolutely.
Well, I just definitely make sure we get through at least a couple of these listener questions, because if you ask them, we'll make sure to answer them. So here's a couple. This one, a bunch of these comes from Mark. So he's a longtime listener since around episode 160, huge fan. So, and he says he really enjoys the vibe. So either one of you can take this. He asks, "What do you think has sustained us for so long?" I don't know. Matt, what has sustained us for so long?
Nothing better to do.
Short and sweet.
It's just a chance to like hang out and being remote workers. It's hanging out with our coworkers by the water cooler and chatting over the latest news.
Yeah, I think you hit it. It's sort of like we enjoy talking about it, and this is the kind of thing we were doing when we all worked together. So it's been a real natural thing. All right, Cote, one for you, also from Mark. What worked well in growing the show, and were there any failures along the way? Cote, I think there's a few failures that we can mention. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think what worked well is, well, this is a negative way of answering it, but I think unlike many other podcasts, what's worked well is not having guests. Like now we do have guests, but it's not like a regular thing, right? Like it's kind of a rare exception.
The format and the round table format's worked out.
Yeah. So just having the same people do stuff, I think works well. And then I think also, well, actually I have no evidence of it working well, but I think inheriting and extending my proclivity to be anything but concise in our show notes, I like that. Like I think our show notes have only gotten longer over the years. We add more and more sections to them and more things, and they become very big things. And
yeah, I would agree with those things. Obviously, a failure is maybe a strong word, but we did try one time a paid podcast, Exegesis, back in the day. And maybe this is the year we'll bring it back. Maybe we'll bring back, if people want more of this, we of course would like to make a little bit of money.
Sure.
But we did.
I forgot we charged for that. That was funny.
Yeah, that was fun. We charged for it. We tried. This was probably like, I don't know, 8 years before it was ready, but we tried it, and people were just like, yeah, whatever. So, all right, a couple fun ones here that I forget. Not everyone's listened to all 500 episodes, but one. I don't know, Matt, do you remember the answer? I do. If you don't, you want to answer? How did No SSH JJ and Tasty Mall Pete's get their nicknames? Do you know either answer?
Oh yeah. I mean, No SSH JJ was, came from the fact that, when Docker became a thing, we pointed out like you don't SSH into containers. You kill the that's just not something you do.
It's pets versus cattle kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
pets versus cattle. Like SSH is failure. So that
SSH.
I'm sure.
But I guess the name kind of comes from like, it feels like that's probably second nature to everyone. But at the time, that was like a big deal. So JJ was always giving like presentations around like you shouldn't be able to remote into your container, or you shouldn't set it up. So that's how you got the nickname.
I think. I mean, JJ used to work for me, so if you think I'm rambly in a podcast, wait till you share an office with me. So, and, the things that I babbled about probably entered into the deep nooks of his mind, and that was definitely something I used to rant about.
And that's sort of what about Tasty Meets Paul? Let's get Coach Tasty Meets Paul. You probably know.
Oh well, that one's easy. He just was posting pictures of all sorts of meat that he was cooking, and so every time he would post some picture, I'd be like, "Oh, that looks delicious." And he still posts delicious pictures of meat. He's one of the great food experimenters and gourmands out there.
Yeah, quite the cook. All right, and the final question from Mark was just like, "Hey, he just started his own podcast. Do we have any advice?" My only advice, I think I give everyone, is just like release on a consistent cadence. So if you're gonna do it once a week, or if you're gonna do it twice a month, whatever, just that seems to be the biggest win, because once people sort of build it into their schedules, they want that, they'll if you will make time for you, right? And if you don't do that, they're like, oh well, I'm about to go on my run or whatever, and I don't have the podcast, and I'm upset. So that'd be my only thing, is like, do whatever you want, but just do it on a consistent cadence.
I think 3 people is, if assuming you have conversations, I think 3 people is better than 2, because 2, you could have somebody like gets busy, sick, falls out, and then you're scrambling to find replacement hosts, or and I was looking through the show notes earlier, and I was like, oh, I missed a couple of episodes here, but capably filled in by my co-host. So
there you go.
That might be a little bit too insider for us, but I mean, I think 3 is good.
Yeah, said another way is like, have a backup plan for scheduling. Scheduling's often the hardest part of a podcast.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, as people who've asked me this over the years know, I can talk for 2 to 3 hours on this topic. But I think what hasn't been said that I think is the most important thing is, like, for the first year or so, pay attention to yourself and figure out what your style is and what people want it to be, and then do that, right? Like, you have to be very and this will come if you're doing your own podcast, because you'll edit it, sort of, but you'll listen to yourself talking, and then you'll pick up on like what you like, and build up a taste in what you like in podcasts, and then play around with that and figure out what your style of doing things is, and stick to that rather than doing other things.
There you go. All right. And the last listener question, I don't know. I think Coach maybe to add this one. Is it from Control Alt Expletive? I don't know. If this is one of the users.
I asked in Blue Sky if there were any questions.
All right. So this is where it came from. It says, quote, have you been using any of the recent niche Apple apps as part of the defaults lifestyle? So Apple Sports, the Journal app, or Freeform? I don't know, Cote, you're always looking for a note-taking app. Are you using any of these new apps?
No, I didn't use Journal because there's like no export, and it's all weird. It's just like, I already use Notes. That's fine. I don't need this other. I think I had a rant many episodes back of like, I don't understand why Notes and Journal are separate products. Get your shit together. See you later. Right. Now, but Freeform, I use that all the time. Freeform is great. And what I use it for is what I call mood boards. which is it's basically just a somewhat infinite canvas, and you can paste images in there. And so I just collect images. Like if you've ever used Arena or even Tumblr to a certain extent, like I don't really have a place to collect images, and that's what I use Freeform for. So I have lots of Freeform boards.
Okay, so you use that one. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
All right,
it's
Matt,
great.
What about you, Matt? Any of these apps?
I mean, I think from the Apple defaults lifestyle things that I've added this year, I got a watch. So I use a sleep app. That's different.
And that's good stuff.
And then I just upgraded to Sequoia or whatever the releases, and I use the iPhone mirroring more than I expected to. So
that's a good one.
You know, I during the year I tried to use their control command center or whatever, did not work. Yeah, so obviously I need to blog about that, but
do you have a blog?
I haven't posted in like 3 years, but it's a sort of like, technical breakdown of why it failed. It has to be written up somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just, effort.
Well, speaking of things that have to be written up, do you have a recommendation this episode, Matt Ray?
Well, I don't have any like brand new recommendations. I think I was kind of looking through in our show notes, we were like, looking over recommendations for the year, anything that kind of stuck out. And the consistent theme for me was kind of fine tuning my desktop experience. I got a new job.
It's like arranging your sock drawer.
Exactly. Right. Well, as I mentioned, like I tried to use control command center or whatever Apple's saying, and it didn't work. And so, now I've got, 4 monitors. I've got, 2 laptops because I have to keep work and personal separate. So a lot of it was just like finding the setup that worked for me. And, so my recommendation is don't settle if there's something you don't like.
Hang in there.
Hang in there, man.
So there's so much that could be a 5-hour episode with Matt Ray.
It's not hang in there. It's never stop trying. It's that frog that's halfway down the
my recommendation is never stop obsessing.
Yeah,
that's so funny. I feel like someone should give the opposite. Cote should give the immediate opposite. It's like, don't let the don't let great be the enemy of good or something like that. So
just punch out before you even leave the runway.
The kind of point is like it's obsessing over things that don't matter, right?
It's true. It's true.
Well said.
I think it's like doing bonsai tree stuff. Like, sounds good. Well, how about yourself, Brandon? Do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, I'm going to recycle a couple from the year. I think the things that really stood out to me. One is this game I've mentioned many times, Balatro. Just absolutely addictive. I can't stop playing it. It's just a simple card game. I have wasted so much time playing it, but I really like it. So that has been
my Factorio. Yeah, my Factorio habit will challenge how much time you spent with it.
Yeah, I'm almost afraid. It's like I heard you recommended the other day. I'm almost like afraid to have another one of these games in my life because I just can't let it go when you're trying to like get to the next level. So I really like it. And this one, I don't know, maybe a tad bit controversial because I know they recently raised prices, but I actually think YouTube TV has been a great service, especially for sports fan. I feel like they have, if you will, modernized television in a way, especially for like sports. They bought sports. They've, if you will, brought multi-view, so you can watch 4 or 5 games at once on one screen, which has been great. They allow you to kind of watch it wherever you are and at your home. You don't have to have cable boxes everywhere. You can sort of like, if you can put it on your TV, you can have as many TVs or iPads using it as much as you want. So I know people say it's too expensive, but I think for the sports fan, YouTube TV is, if you will, has really brought the way I always wished I could watch sports. It's actually happened. So I really like it. So if you're a sports fan, check it out. And if you're not a sports fan, well, you don't need that. Just go watch your streaming services.
It's occurring to me. We are all of the age now that the people running everything are also our age. And so maybe the way that our generation wants to do things will be realized, right? So like maybe the people deciding on like what to fund each year as far as like YouTube TV, like also remembered people throwing bricks into McDonald's windows in the 90s. And they're kind of like, I've always wanted to have sports the way Brandon wants sports, right? And so like redo the deck and come back next week and pitch that to me. and then you know, we'll finally get things to.
Well, I think it's
consume
an
the way that
excellent
we like.
observation, but I think we should also say it's like we're also of the age where we're a lot less price sensitive. So like when they raise the
Exactly.
price, like I don't care at all. I'm like, this is so great. This is exactly what I wanted. But maybe if I was to ask my younger self that was much more price sensitive, I would have complained. But now, not a problem at all.
You're used to the $150 cable bill.
Yeah, and I feel like it.
Yeah,
I do.
exactly.
I still feel like
It's
it's
return of
cheaper,
the
right?
bundle.
Yeah, exactly.
The bundle was great in retrospect. Well, my recommendation, anti a lot of what we were just saying, is you know, we've had a bit of a federation in the procurement department here at the Cote Scotac Industries, and there are some new we used to call them IoT home automation devices that have entered the house
Oh wow.
that do not work with Apple Home, and
Mhm.
so I was like, you know, in my, I think part of the defaults lifestyle is not only do you accept the defaults that you have on your phone, but also the defaults that you have in your life. And so when a new default comes on, you're just like, all right, let's figure it out. And so I went and I installed the Google Home app and I got it all set up. And the crazy thing is, it just works with everything. Like you don't have to look for, it doesn't work with the Amazon stuff, of course, but that's kind of a weird minority area. But like, you know, now I can go to like the equivalent of the dollar store here in the Netherlands, and you can buy any home device, automation device, and it works with your phone instead of having to look for the little Apple thing. And it also works with the Samsung TV. I can turn the volume up and down on the Samsung TV, which is great. So I don't know if you're like if you're kind of out there in the wilds of Apple Home and you're like, but I got those other 3 devices that nothing works with. Just you could just use Google Home and it'll probably be fine.
Nice.
Well, speaking of things that are nice, hopefully you've had a great year and you'll be enjoying the new one. And you know, we've given you several resolutions. We'll revisit them next year. Maybe you can tell us how it panned out. You can write a long email and then just select it and use the writing tools, select summarize and send it to us. And we'll find out how it was. If you want to get the show notes for this episode, you can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/500. That's a lot of episodes that we've done. Kind of nuts. There's a Slack channel you can join, all sorts of stuff going on there. And good luck in 2025 calendar year. I don't know what to tell you about fiscal year, but the calendar year, it's going to be great. Enjoy things. See you next time. Bye-bye.
All right, we've done it. 500 episodes in. So, you know, if we continue at our current pace, it will be roughly 2034 when we get to our 1000th episode. So, what will the topic be? Gote. What will
2034.
will you still be talking about platform engineering?
No.
50
No.
episodes, 52 episodes a year for 10 years. So somewhere, you know, somewhere in
I think by that time there'll be a new movement called Ops Dev. And
Ops-
we'll be like, you know, these developers, what they really need is some assistance. You know, that we got to bring back the ops to the developers and figure it out. So what if we merge these two things together? You know,
It's going to be care and feeding for your AI overlords.
I like it. Well, my prediction, I'll leave it here on the maybe in 10 years. So probably we'll actually still be talking about like a lot of these websites where you're trying to like pay your bills are still not good. That's what I predict. So I feel like a lot of things, though, there will be some AI overlords, but we will still be having to log in on Internet Explorer to pay a bill on an obscure website that doesn't support anything else. So, you know, as much as things change, they stay the same. So, hey, listen, thanks for everyone that was watching in the stream. I see lots of familiar names here. Brett, Michael, and many others. This will, no, we probably will have maybe a couple more streams before the end of the year. But if you watch this on the stream, do a little bit of time travel. This episode actually won't come out till the first week of January. So don't tell anyone. Keep it a secret. I don't want everyone to see our predictions until they're ready. But of course, I want to thank all the listeners because that's how we got to 500 plus episodes. 500 plus episodes. And of course, I want to thank the people that watch us on the stream the most because you guys are always here and you always keep it fun. And with that, we will talk to you